Now let's get into polynomial functions and graphing. So find all the real zeros of the polynomial and state the multiplicity of each zero. So when we're dealing with polynomials and functions, we got to make sure we know multiplicity, zeros. And then also we want to make sure we can apply division, such as long division, as well as synthetic division, and know your operations like adding, subtracting, and multiplying. So in this first one, I think, being able to factor and find the zeros and identify the multiplicity is critically important. So let's take a function. Let's do p of x is equal to x to the fourth minus an x cubed plus a 6x squared. All right. So when we want to find the zeros, we want to find the values that are going to make this polynomial function equal to 0. Or we want to find the values that satisfy when this polynomial is equal to 0. Now, whenever you have a higher order polynomial, especially when it's a trinomial, I always think of factoring quadratics, right? But again, this is raised to the fourth power, not raised to the squared. So then I always want to look into, what can I factor out? Is there any common factors I can factor out? And in this case, you can see I have a x squared that I can factor out. So simply what I'm going to do is I'm going to say p of x is equal to a x squared times a x squared minus x plus 6. And actually, we want to find the 0. So I'm going to set this already equal to 0. So therefore, we can go ahead and do that. Okay. Now, in this case, you could apply the zero product property, but we also say, hey, I have a quadratic trinomial. Can I further factor that down? And what I'm looking at here is what two numbers multiply give me a positive 6. That means they both have to be positive or both have to be negative. But then are going to add, that's negative 6. That's wrong. I wrote that down wrong. That's supposed to be a negative because that would not work, right? Because you couldn't have a positive and a negative to add to there. So I wrote down this problem wrong. Oops. Apologies. That's supposed to be a negative. Because obviously, if you're thinking about factoring, ladies and gentlemen, and this is something I would do sometimes when I would change a problem on my students' midterm. Not going to lie, but at least what I would always make it up to them. I would give the problem for free. If they recognize the mistake that I made, I'd say, guys, number 17, the answer is B. And I always gave to my students because that was my mistake. It shouldn't be your fault. All right, but I recognize, yes, my last number is negative. So that means one factor is positive, one factor is negative. They add to give me a negative 3. Immediately in my head, I am factoring this to a x squared times a x minus 3 times an x plus 2. Okay, now again, this is a product of 3 factors equal to 0. So we can apply the zero product property. Set each factor equal to 0, and then we can solve, and that's going to be the zeros. So x minus 3 equals 0, and then x plus 2 is equal to 0. Now, there's nothing wrong with this written this way, but sometimes I like to write it like this for my students to see this factor. Because when we're looking at the multiplicity, what we're doing is we're looking at the power of the factors, okay? Now, multiplicity is very helpful, especially when graphing. That kind of explains this bouncing effect or this crossing effect. So if you have an odd multiplicity, that means the graph is going to cross at that 0. If you have an even multiplicity, that means the graph is going to bounce at that 0. So in this case, when you solve for this, you get x is equal to 0, but it has a multiplicity equal to 2. Over here, you have x is equal to 3, but the multiplicity is equal to 1. And over here, you have x equals negative 2, but the multiplicity is also equal to 1. So that's how you identify the zeros by factoring, as well as identify the multiplicity. Make sure you write them as factors, and you can identify what their power is, but they have to be linear factors. That means the x has to be raised to the first power as a linear factor, but then it can be raised to a higher power, and that will tell you the multiplicity. Find the polynomial of degree 4 with real coefficients that has the given zeros and multiplicity. Leave the answer in standard form. Okay, so let's find the polynomial, and let's say here is going to be my zeros. So I could say, so the zeros, let's do x equals 1 with a multiplicity equal to 2. And let's go ahead and do x equals a 3i. All right. Okay. So remember, it's really important to understand when you have a factor, I actually need to go back up here. These are what we call factors, right? But then when I added 3 over there, I gave me a 0. So all we're simply doing, guys, is we're working backwards, right? This is actually what we did. We took this factored form, we factored, or non-factored form, we factored it, set them equal to 0, and then we found the zeros. Now we're given the zeros. We want to find the factors. So if x plus 1 is a 0, that means x minus 1 is going to be a factor. And then we can set that factor equal to 0, right? We can set that as x minus 1 is equal to 0. And then if you add 1, you get x equals 1, right? So that's going to x minus 1 is going to be a factor. But remember, it had a multiplicity of 2. Now, we're not setting equal to 0 because we're not solving it. What we're trying to do is we want to find the polynomial version of this. Or we want to find the polynomial that makes that with that factor. Come on. So it's x minus 1 squared. Now, again, x minus 1 squared is not x squared minus 1 squared. It's x minus 1 times x minus 1. But hopefully you recognize that's a perfect square trinomial, and you can factor that quickly to this. Okay, so there is our one factor. The next one is x equals 3i. Now, again, as factors, that's going to give me an x minus 3i, right? If you subtract that over to get 0. But then remember, the complex conjugate always has to exist. So if you have x minus 3i, you have to have a x plus a 3i. Now we need to multiply this, but hopefully you recognize, again, this is a difference of two squares, right? So, and this is going to be negative 3 times negative, or negative 3 times positive 3 is a negative 9, but I times I is I squared, which is a negative 1. So therefore, this is going to give me an x squared plus 9. So now my p of x, which I'm going to call my polynomial, is going to be a x squared minus a 2x plus 1 times a x squared plus 9. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing wrong with applying distributive property here. However, on a test, or even not on a test, I would still probably prefer to use the box method, because what I have found when I multiply polynomials that are higher than binomials, by using the box method, I just eliminate so many mistakes on my end. So it's just something I prefer to do. Okay. You don't have to do it this way. It does take a little bit longer to do, but I have just found it is so much easier to visualize or to see where and if I make a mistake and to correct my answers. I don't know why I have it. Okay. So you take one polynomial on this side and you take one polynomial on that side. I don't like how that bar goes all the way across. It's kind of weird. All right. And then remember, multiplying, guys, you're just finding the area. So you're just going to do length times width for each box. So in this case, I'm going to have a x to the fourth. X squared times x squared is x to the fourth. X squared times negative 2x is a negative 2x cubed. X squared times 1 is an x squared. X squared times 9 is a 9x squared. 9 times negative 2 is a negative 18x. And 9 times 1 is going to be a positive 9. And the cool thing about this is, actually, they're not on a diagonal. So let's go and write out now our p of x. So we have p of x is equal to, we have an x to the fourth. We have negative 2x cubed. 9x squared plus an x squared is going to be a positive 10x squared. And then we have a minus an 18x. And then we have minus a 9. Now I ran out of space, so I can just go ahead and shrink this down. And now everything is going to go ahead and fit. All right, let's go and work on our next one with polynomials. And that is going to be use the remainder theorem and synthetic division to evaluate an f of negative 3 for f of x. So let's go and take an f of x. That's not going to be easy to evaluate for negative 3. So let's do a 2x to the fourth plus a 5x cubed plus a 4x squared plus a 7x plus a 10. Okay. So if I said evaluate for f of negative 3, okay, remember what that tells me, whatever this value is, that's going to be the remainder if I was to divide by the factor that gives me at negative 3. So again, let's say if negative 3 would be my potential 0, then I can say x equals negative 3, then x plus 3 is going to be my factor. So when I take my f of x and I divide it by x plus 3, that's going to give me whatever my remainder is going to be. Or when I take x plus 3 and divide into f of x, r is going to equal the remainder. I don't want to say equals r because that's kind of confusing. R would equal the remainder, okay? Or but whatever, when I plug in f of negative 3 into that function, that's going to give me r, okay? Which would be represents the remainder if I were to apply division. But I don't want to plug that in there. That's going to be a lot of math. So what we can quickly do is we can use synthetic division to be able to figure out what the remainder would be, which would be the same as using the remainder theorem. Sometimes the remainder theorem is faster and easier, and sometimes using synthetic division is going to be faster and easier. So again, if x plus 3 is my factor, then this would be my potential 0, or the value that I'm going to use for my synthetic division. So I'll take that number on the outside, And then let's go and take all the coefficients of my, let's take all the coefficients of my polynomial. So let's write it like that. So again, make sure you have in descending order and make sure you have everything listed. So 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So I'll have a 2, 5, 4, horrible 4, 4, 7, and 10. All right, so bring down the 2. And then remember, first one is always a freebie. And then you multiply on the diagonal, add on the vertical. 2 times -3 is a -6. 5 plus -6 is -1. -1 times 3 is going to be a +3. 4 plus 3 is going to be 7. 7 times -3 is a -21. 7 plus -14 or -21 is going to be a -14. 3 times -14 is going to be a +42. 10 plus 42 is going to be a 52. That is going to be my remainder. So R, or f of -3, is equal to a 52.